Scorpio, a betrayal is being prepared in silence. You need to know this. Scorpio, someone close to you is wearing a mask. And you, known for your piercing intuition, may be standing in the center of a silent betrayal without even realizing it. I'm Elizabeth, your guide here on Esoteric Wisdom, and today I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to awaken you. The universe is sending urgent signals. A betrayal is being prepared in the shadows. Subtle clues are already around you, odd glances, delayed replies, inconsistencies in stories, but your heart keeps justifying what your instincts already know. As a Scorpio, your strength lies in your emotional depth and insight. But even the sharpest souls can be clouded by trust or emotional ties. This is not just a warning, it's an invitation to see clearly before it's too late. What's coming isn't just painful, it's transformative. Don't ignore the signs. What I'm about to reveal in this video could be the key to unlocking the truth and protecting your energy before damage is done. Are you ready to uncover what's been hidden in plain sight? Chapter 1. The Whisper You Tried to Ignore. Scorpio, if there's one truth you've always known, deep in your bones, in the silent chambers of your heart, it's this: energy never lies. Words can deceive, smiles can be rehearsed, but energy always tells the truth. And lately, something hasn't felt right. It started subtly, didn't it? A moment of unease you couldn't explain. A message that came too late. A shift in the air when they walked into the room. No accusations, no proof, just a feeling, a whisper from your inner world that something is unraveling behind closed doors. Let me tell you something, Scorpio, that whisper? It's not paranoia, it's your gift speaking. You were born under the rule of Pluto, the planet of secrets, transformation, and truth buried beneath the surface. You are the zodiac's psychic detective, the emotional alchemist. You were never meant to live on the surface, never meant to believe what's simply presented. You were meant to feel the currents beneath. And now, those currents are rising. Astrologically, the energy surrounding you is volatile. Mercury, the planet of communication, is approaching a shadow transit, and it's squaring Pluto. That creates a cosmic lie detector. Conversations that once felt smooth now feel forced. Stories start to conflict. People avoid your gaze, and your soul, your powerful Scorpio soul, has already taken note. But here's the thing, your biggest challenge isn't decoding the lie. You already know it's there. The real battle is within. Because you, dear Scorpio, are a master of loyalty. When you love with depth that terrifies the shallow. When you trust, you give your entire being. And now that bond, that sacred thread you've built with someone, is being tugged by a hidden hand, and you don't want to believe it. You tell yourself, maybe I'm overthinking. You play back the conversations in your head, trying to make the pieces fit. You excuse what your intuition condemns. Why? Because betrayal isn't just about broken trust. For Scorpio, betrayal feels like a death, not of the other person, but of the version of yourself that believed in them. And so, you hesitate. But listen closely. The longer you delay facing the truth, the deeper the roots of deception grow. The universe doesn't whisper forever. Eventually, it roars. This video, this moment, may be that roar. You're not here by accident. You're not listening just because you're curious. You're here because something inside of you already knows the truth, and you came seeking confirmation. Not from me, from the stars, from your own soul. So let me ask you, what have you noticed lately? What small shift in behavior made your heart skip a beat? Whose voice no longer feels sincere, even when their words sound sweet? Now is the time to stop rationalizing and start observing. With precision, with clarity, with the same fierce presence that makes you so powerful when you're fully awake. Scorpio, you are entering a 7 to 14 day window where the veils will start to fall. Where hidden texts, late night calls, half-hearted explanations, and misaligned body language will all begin to paint a picture. But you must not confront too soon. Your strength is not an explosion, it's an exposure. Pluto teaches us that death must come before rebirth. And yes, this betrayal may hurt, but it is also a catalyst, a cosmic intervention, to push you back into your power. In the chapters to come, I'll walk with you through the storm, from decoding deception to reclaiming your sovereignty. And ultimately, to transforming this pain into liberation. But first, listen to the whisper. Because what you're sensing isn't fiction. It's the beginning of your awakening. Chapter 2. Unmasking the Mirror. How to read the signs without confrontation. Scorpio, your gift is vision, not the vision of the eyes, but of the soul, the ability to read between the words. To hear what is not spoken. To feel the tremors behind a carefully practiced smile. But what happens when the mirror in front of you, this relationship, this person, starts showing you cracks you don't want to see? The truth is, every betrayal begins with a pattern. And every pattern begins with a shift. In the past few days, perhaps you've noticed their rhythm change. The messages come slower. Their words feel strangely rehearsed. They cancel plans more frequently. Or suddenly seem overly attentive, out of nowhere. These aren't just random behaviors. They are psychic inconsistencies, the kinds you were born to detect. Let's pause here, not to confront, not to accuse, but to observe. You see, Scorpio, confrontation is not your first move, it's your last. Your power doesn't lie in shouting. It lies in knowing. That's why this chapter is about learning how to gather truth like a shadow hunter. With stillness, strategy, and soul. This week, the planetary dance offers a crucial opportunity. Mercury, the communicator, is tangled in a tense aspect with Neptune, the planet of illusion. And when this happens, lies become clumsier, gaps begin to appear, the mask starts to slip. Neptune rules fantasy and fog. But when Mercury enters its orbit, that fog becomes obvious, unnatural. You'll notice that people who usually lie easily start to trip over their own stories. They'll repeat details that don't match. Their energy won't align with their words. You'll feel a dissonance, a low hum of emotional static. That is your cue. That is when you begin to take mental notes. Not emotional action. Keep a private log, mental or written. Not to hold grudges, but to connect dots. They said they were here, but something about their tone felt off. They smiled, but their eyes looked tired, even guilty. They avoided the topic completely. These are not just suspicions. These are data points of the soul. And here's what most people don't realize. Scorpio is the zodiac's forensic empath. You don't just feel deeply, you investigate deeply. When others overlook the small details, you see the whole emotional fingerprint. And right now, the universe is handing you evidence. One strange conversation at a time. But the key is this: don't react. Not yet. The moment you accuse too early, they adjust their mask. They change the story. They cover their tracks. But when you stay silent, stay still, they reveal themselves in full. Instead of asking, "Why are you acting strange?" ask yourself, "What energy are they trying to suppress?" Instead of saying, "You're hiding something," ask, "What am I no longer being shown?" Scorpio, this phase is your emotional recon mission. You are not the wounded one, you are the watcher. You are not the victim, you are the mirror that cannot be lied to. And as this silent investigation continues, you'll start to see it, the energetic mismatch. The moments that once felt warm now feel cold. The way they avoid eye contact at just the wrong time. This is the art of unmasking, not through confrontation, but through clarity. Now, a warning from the stars, as Pluto edges closer to its next transit. Old secrets begin to quake beneath the surface. Hidden truths have weight, and weight always seeks release. That means sometime soon, a slip will happen, a message will come through accidentally, a sentence will be spoken in haste, or a dream will offer clarity your waking mind has been denying. Don't be afraid of that moment. Welcome it. It is not destruction, it is divine revelation. And when that moment comes, you won't be unprepared. You'll be ready, with truth in your hands and calm in your heart. Because you didn't lash out. You stayed aligned. You held your sacred center. And in that stillness, you became unstoppable. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper. What happens when the truth finally reveals itself? How do you protect your soul? Confront with dignity, and walk away stronger than ever? Scorpio, the real power isn't in seeing the lie. It's in knowing when, and how, to rise above it. Chapter 3. The moment of revelation, when truth breaks the surface. There comes a moment in every Scorpio's life when the shadows no longer hold their secrets. You don't chase the truth, Scorpio, you attract it, like a magnet for what is hidden. Your presence alone disturbs illusions. And when the truth finally arrives, messy, abrupt, undeniable, it doesn't just knock. It crashes through the silence like a tidal wave through glass. Maybe it's a message you weren't meant to see. A look exchanged between two people that shouldn't mean anything, yet your intuition screams otherwise. Or perhaps it's a confession disguised as a slip of the tongue. A careless contradiction that no longer fits the puzzle pieces you've quietly been collecting. This is the moment of revelation. And no matter how prepared you thought you were, no matter how many late nights you rehearsed it in your mind, this truth cuts deep. But here's what makes you different. Scorpio, you do not break when the truth comes. You transform. At this point in your journey, the planetary energies are not subtle. Pluto, your ruling planet, is now moving with intensity through your psychic chart. And when Pluto moves, it digs, it exposes, it uproots, it says, this no longer belongs in your soul. Let it die so you can rise. This isn't just about a person who lied. It's about who you became while holding space for a lie. It's about how long you've been dimming your light to keep their shadow comfortable. And it's about the price you paid for doubting your own inner voice. So now what? Your instinct may tempt you to strike back, to confront, expose, maybe even destroy. But before you let Mars, your co-ruler, ignite your rage. Pause, breathe, feel the gravity of this moment. Because this is not a battleground. It's a threshold. Ask yourself this: what does confrontation serve? Is it healing? Or is it an echo of your pain? Searching for validation from someone who's already proven unworthy of your trust? Instead, take this moment to reclaim your center. Don't hand them your fire. Let them witness your silence. Let them feel your absence. That absence, your withdrawal of energy, is far more powerful than any words you could speak. Now, let's look astrologically again. Mercury, having danced with Neptune and Pluto, is now beginning to stabilize. Communication clears. You will start to receive information from unexpected places, perhaps even an ally who was watching from the sidelines. The universe is orchestrating more than you realize. This is the divine orchestration of exposure. When the truth breaks the surface, it doesn't only reveal them. It reveals you, the version of you that endured, that loved, that hoped, and now, the version of you that is ready to evolve. So here's what I ask of you: instead of collapsing under the weight of betrayal, rise with the clarity of it. Let this be the chapter where you begin to rebuild. Not for them, for you. Take space, cleanse your energy, write down everything, what you learned, what you missed, and most importantly, what you will never accept again. Because this isn't just the end of a deception, it's the beginning of a declaration. I will never betray myself again in the name of love, peace, or loyalty. Scorpio, you were never meant to stay in places that ask you to shrink. This moment may hurt, but it is also the most sacred gift the stars could offer you: the power to choose yourself. In the next chapter, we step into the healing, the sacred process of shedding the skin of betrayal and walking boldly into rebirth. Because Scorpio, the sting may hurt, but your rise is what writes legends. Chapter 4. Phoenix Rising, Reclaiming Power After the Fall. Scorpio, this is the part of the story they never tell, the part that begins after the storm. When the tears have dried, and the silence becomes your companion, the betrayal has been revealed, the illusions have collapsed, and now, you are standing among the ashes. But here's the secret only you know deep in your soul. You were never meant to stay broken. You were meant to burn, so you could rise. Because Scorpio is not just ruled by Pluto, the lord of the underworld. You are governed by the energy of transformation itself, of death and rebirth. You are the phoenix, the one who turns endings into entrances. And that's where you are now, not at the end, but at the threshold of power. Let's talk about what healing actually looks like for a Scorpio. It doesn't come in a straight line. It doesn't come in pretty affirmations or neat closure. It comes in waves, raw, fiery, and untamed. One day you feel rage. The next, numb. Then suddenly, you remember a moment, one sweet, innocent detail, and it breaks you all over again. This is not weakness. This is the shedding. Every emotion that rises now is a thread being pulled from the fabric of the false narrative you were once wrapped in. Every pang of pain is the body's way of saying, we're letting this go now. And while others may distract, suppress, or rebound, you do something braver, you go inward. This is your sanctuary, Scorpio. Your healing doesn't happen out loud. It happens in solitude, in midnight journals, in ocean walks, in that look you give yourself in the mirror when no one else is watching. Astrologically, you're now entering a window where the moon aligns with Chiron, the wounded healer. This cosmic pairing doesn't erase your pain, it illuminates the wisdom in it. You begin to see how every red flag you ignored was a lesson in self-trust. How every compromise you made was a call to protect your own worth. And how the betrayal, however cruel, was the last push you needed to awaken your power. In this chapter of healing, Scorpio, I want you to ask yourself, what version of me tolerated this? What part of me felt I had to earn love? Instead of being loved simply for who I am, what would it mean to never abandon myself again? The answers to these questions are not just mental. They are soul deep. They are contracts you begin to rewrite, with yourself, with your boundaries, with the universe. You may notice, during this time, that new people enter your life. Perhaps quietly, a stranger offers unexpected kindness. An old friend reappears with different energy. These are not coincidences, they are divine replacements. The universe, in its infinite intelligence, never leaves a void unfilled for long. But it will only send what you are ready to receive. So now, Scorpio, I invite you to do something bold. Step into your new identity. You are no longer the version of you who tolerated crumbs. You are no longer the one who doubted your inner knowing. You are no longer waiting for closure from those who refused to be honest. Instead, you are writing a new vow. From this day forward, I choose me. This vow will echo in your relationships, your career, your decisions. People will feel your energy shift. Some will fall away, and that's okay. You're not losing them, you're making space for alignment. Your aura will expand, your voice will carry weight. And your presence, once quiet in its loyalty, will now speak volumes in sovereignty. So when they see you again, and oh, they won't recognize the same version of you. Because that version is gone. She burned, and in her place now stands a Scorpio reborn, wiser, fiercer, untouchable. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to protect this new energy, set soul-level boundaries, and magnetize relationships that honor the transformed version of you. Because, Scorpio, this isn't just healing, this is evolution. Chapter 5. Sacred Boundaries, How to Protect Your Power Without Building Walls. Scorpio, after the storm, after the fall, after the sacred fire has passed through you, what remains is something rare, clarity. And with clarity comes responsibility, the responsibility to protect the soul you just rebirthed. Because here's the truth they rarely speak of, healing isn't just about release. It's about reinforcement. You've done the brave work of facing betrayal, uncovering truths, and rising from your own ashes. But now, a different kind of strength is needed, one that's quieter, more sustained, the strength to say no. The strength to honor your intuition even when no one else understands it. The strength to create boundaries, not as walls of fear, but as gates of sacred self-respect. So what does a sacred boundary look like for a Scorpio? It begins with energy. Before words are spoken or lines are drawn, your soul already knows when something, or someone, feels off. You feel it in the tightening of your chest, the way your energy dips after being around them, the dreams that leave you uneasy. These are not coincidences. These are energetic alerts, messages from your inner guardian. And this time, you're going to listen. You see, Scorpio, your depth can be both a gift and a gateway. You have the capacity to see into others, to hold their shadows with compassion, to go where most won't. But that sacred skill has a cost when you give it to people who don't value it, or worse, who exploit it. That's why boundaries aren't cruel. They're clarity. Astrologically, as Saturn moves through your chart's zone of personal structure, you're being called to redefine what you allow in. Saturn isn't here to restrict you. He's here to fortify you, to help you become your own container, one that no longer leaks energy through guilt. people pleasing, or silent self-sacrifice. Here's how you begin. Start with the energetic boundary. Ask yourself, how do I feel after I interact with this person? Empowered or diminished? Your body never lies. Your spirit never lies. If you feel drained, confused, or self-doubting, that's a signal. Take space. Observe. Next, establish emotional boundaries. You don't owe anyone constant access to your inner world. You can love someone deeply and still protect parts of yourself. You can be compassionate without being available to manipulation. Boundaries don't block love, they purify it. Then, set verbal boundaries. Learn to speak your truth clearly, calmly, and firmly. I'm not available for this kind of conversation. That doesn't feel respectful to me. I need space to process. You don't have to justify your intuition. It is valid by nature of being yours. And finally, hold your spiritual boundary. Not everyone deserves a seat at the altar of your soul. If someone has proven they cannot handle your vulnerability with reverence, they do not belong in your sacred inner circle. Now, let's talk about the fear that often arises in this phase. Many Scorpios worry that if they set boundaries, they'll be alone. That being clear about what they will and won't accept will drive people away. And you know what? Some will leave, but the ones who stay, the ones who arrive, will meet you at your level. Not to consume your depth, but to honor it. This is the great irony. When you protect your energy, you amplify it. You become magnetic, sovereign, clear. You attract partners who respect your rhythms, friends who honor your honesty, opportunities that reflect your new energetic standard. Scorpio, this is the quiet power of the phoenix. Not just to rise from the ashes, but to guard the flame. In the next chapter, we step into the future, what awaits you after this transformation, and how to recognize the karmic rewards that are already on their way. Because the universe does not ask you to let go without preparing something greater. Chapter 6. Divine Compensation, the Karmic Rewards of Choosing Yourself. Scorpio, every decision you've made along this journey, from honoring your intuition, to walking away from deception, to protecting your energy, has not gone unnoticed. The universe sees what others overlook. It records the tears shed in silence. It hears the "no" you whispered to your old self. It witnesses the moment you chose you. And now, the energy begins to shift. What was once pain becomes power. What felt like loss is revealed as divine alignment. The karmic wheel turns, not with noise or fireworks, but with a quiet inevitability. This is divine compensation, and it's already in motion. Let's be clear, the rewards you're about to receive are not random. They are not luck. They are energetic matches for the soul growth you've activated. You burned the old scripts. You broke ancestral patterns. You said, "No more," and that declaration became a beacon. In astrology, this chapter of your life is marked by Jupiter's movement into a trine with your natal Scorpio placements. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, wisdom, and blessings, begins to shine a light on everything that was once hidden or delayed. Suddenly, clarity finds you, a door opens, a connection aligns, and it feels like everything is happening all at once. But the truth is, it's been building all along. Behind every no, the universe was writing a better yes. Let's talk about the forms this compensation may take. It may be subtle at first, a creative opportunity you didn't expect. A new friendship that feels oddly familiar. Like home, a romantic encounter with someone who sees you not as intense or complicated, but as radiant and rare. These are not coincidences. These are mirrors of your healing. What you are attracting now is a reflection of who you've become. No longer will you entertain half-truths or perform emotional gymnastics to be accepted. No longer will you shrink to avoid triggering someone else's fear of depth. You have stepped into your full frequency, and the universe responds with precision. During this phase, Scorpio, you may also notice something powerful. The people or situations that once held so much emotional charge suddenly lose their grip. You see them for what they are. Not villains, not soulmates, but teachers, mirrors, lessons, and instead of craving closure, you feel completion. That's how you know the karmic cycle has ended. Because you no longer need it to be different. You are already different. This is when peace returns. Not because life is perfect, but because you are aligned. And alignment always brings rewards, of the most sacred kind. Astrologically, Chiron, the wounded healer, is beginning to soften its influence on your chart, bringing a window for reflection and integration. You'll feel more grounded, more intuitive, more open to receiving without guilt or fear. And it's in this openness that divine compensation flows fastest. Scorpio, the universe does not operate on human timelines. It doesn't rush, it refines, and when it brings you something, it brings it with meaning. So when the blessings arrive, welcome them not as, finally, but as, exactly when I was ready. This chapter of your life is not about proving your worth. It's about living it. It's about embodying the version of you that knew, even in the darkest moment, that the light would return. You held the line. You kept your heart open even when it hurt. You walked through fire, and emerged gold. In the final chapter, we'll speak about integration, how to sustain this new frequency, how to avoid falling back into old patterns, and how to walk forward with the wisdom you've earned. Because Scorpio, this is no longer about survival. This is about sovereignty. Chapter 7. The Integration, Living as the Transformed Self. Scorpio, healing is not a destination, it is a becoming. You have walked through the fire. You've seen the masks fall. You've stood in silence with the truth in your hands. And most importantly, you chose yourself. Now, the question becomes, how do you live as the transformed self? Because integration is where most people falter. After the tears dry, after the clarity comes, after the old wounds stop bleeding, there's a silence, a space, and in that space, it's tempting to return to familiar patterns, familiar people, familiar pain dressed up as comfort. But you, Scorpio, are not meant to circle back. You are meant to lead forward. The integration phase is not about doing more. It's about being differently. It's about responding to life not from old wounds, but from your new wisdom. That means pausing before you say yes to something that drains you. That means noticing when your boundaries wobble, and realigning without guilt. That means trusting your intuition not only when it screams, but when it whispers. Let's look at what this means astrologically. Right now, with Pluto beginning a slow transition into new territory in your chart, your energy is shifting permanently. You're being invited to restructure your identity around your truth, not your trauma. This is sacred work. You are now writing the next chapter of your life with clearer eyes, fuller lungs, and a heart that no longer begs to be chosen, because it has chosen itself. But how do we stay rooted in this new version? First, through ritual. Not elaborate ceremonies, but daily acts of self-respect. Drinking water when your body is tired. Turning off the phone when your energy is depleted. Saying no without explanation. Choosing solitude not because you're afraid of others, but because you cherish your own company. These are not small acts. These are declarations to the universe. I know who I am now. Second, through discernment. Everyone doesn't get access to you anymore. And that's not cruelty, it's clarity. You are not here to be decoded. You are here to be resonated with. If someone's energy doesn't feel aligned, let it drift. You don't need to fix it. You only need to stay centered. Third, through expression. Write, speak, create. Scorpio is a sign of transformation, but also of depth and voice. Your pain has given you insight that others are still searching for. Don't be afraid to share it, not to relive it, but to offer light to those still in the dark. You are not only healing yourself, you are becoming a guide, even if silently, to others. And finally, through grace. Not every day will feel powerful. Some days, the old wounds may still ache. That's okay. That doesn't mean you've regressed. It means you're alive, awake, and still integrating. Because integration isn't perfection, it's presence. It's learning to live in your new skin, even when the old one whispers. Scorpio, the stars have watched you walk through more than most could survive. And now, they sing a new truth. You are no longer a seeker of light. You are the source of it. This is your era of sovereignty, of magnetic embodiment, of relationships that meet you at your frequency, not below it. So I'll leave you with this. Live slowly, love wisely, and never again abandon your knowing for someone else's comfort. You've earned this new life. Now breathe it in. Everything you've just experienced, Scorpio, was never an ending, it was a doorway back to your true self. From the pain of betrayal, you walked through the shadows and emerged not just with clarity, but with a deeper power you didn't know was yours. You're no longer seeking validation. Now, you're choosing alignment. This transformation, from heartbreak to awakening to personal sovereignty, is the essence of what the stars have been guiding you toward all along. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Esoteric Wisdom for more guidance on your journey. Now I ask you this, can you feel a new version of yourself quietly rising from within? One that no longer needs to prove, but simply is? As the ancient astrologers once said, when the truth breaks your heart, it's only clearing space for a soul that finally sees itself.